Benfica Podcast is one of the founding members of Benfica Independent. Benfica Independent is an independent platform made by fans for fans. And in it, you can find our podcast, along with many other podcasts, along with articles of opinion, video segments, and much, much more. We're also on patreon.com/Benfica Independent with exclusive contents for our Patreons.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo. Sí, es un club que tiene una grandeza que no se comprende si no estás aquí dentro.
São de uma magia única, benfiquista, que só nós sentimos assim. Por muitos desgostos que possamos ter, valores mais altos se levantam. E o valor mais alto que se levanta em termos futebolísticos chama-se Benfica.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero o manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer estado. E esses estados, pá! É isso que eu quero!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast. My name is Alfredo Fumaças, bringing you episode number 470. With me, as always, Cristiano Oliveira. Cristiano, como é que é, amigo? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Olá to all the Freddies on the chat. Welcome and many more. Keep coming.
Keep coming. Also with us, as always, Dave de Oliveira. Dave de Oliveira, what's happening up there in the Great White North?
What's going on, Alfredo and Cristiano? Great to be back on tonight. That's another Canadian one said, another night, another podcast. But yeah, great to be on and got the derby to recap. So shout out to the parties here who are coming in. But lots to talk about tonight.
See, Dave, I'm by myself in the studio. No complaints about my.
Well, you can't see the stars.
Good. Like that, you guys can't harass me on it. Right? They look fine.
Somebody's Redman is saying that your sound is very bad, Cristiano.
I tell you that this is your gibberish.
Audio clipping, breaking up. How about Dave? How's Dave sound? Dave, you want to talk for a little bit? You want to tell us what's going on in your life?
What's going on in my life? Planning for a wedding. And there's no days off. I go to work and work keeps me away from the wedding planning. So that's what's going on in my life here. Enjoying Benfica too, but since that I'm clipping out too on
all right. Well, we figured it out. Of course, Cristiano went off. He fucked up everything now. But let's see if I could find something here to do. Desktop audio. I think desktop audio may work. Desktop audio. Don't go to the studio, that's what happens. Audio input capture, application audio. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead. Say some things, Dave. Dave's no good. Trip was good. Trip was good. You've got an echo. Yeah, I know what's going on there. Now it shouldn't be an echo. He's using the star installation method of audio. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Trip was good. It was good to spend some time in Tugaland. Yeah, no, it was good. It was out there. Got there on Wednesday. went to the Derby on Sunday, was it? And
Sunday.
I got back in. Yesterday. So I'm still a little bit jet lagged since I spent the week there. But here we are. Just trying to figure this good. Yeah, good for me. Yeah, I have my own mic.
How's it sounding here on my end? I mean, everything's plugged in the same setting. We're still the same here on my end. So
To me, you sound great, Dave.
yeah, even Cristiano sounded good too. I don't know what could be the issue.
Yeah. Chris, when I'm not in the studio, you can't figure that shit out. That's what happens.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You sound low. You sound low.
I got him muted. How in the world?
Because it's coming through Zoom. It's the Zoom sound.
I went to Zoom. In Zoom, the preferences, audio, mixcast. I understand that.
Dave's still clipping.
What the?
Da, 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 da.
See what happens? You go to the school, hang out with the boys from and you come back and bring back the viruses. That's how we can't figure shit out.
Yeah, you can hear me. I'm just trying to figure out what where you guys are at.
I looked at my eyes. You're not supposed to be What's this now?
For Alfredo.
Yeah, good because I'm using my own mic.
Yeah, I like you on my mic too, Alfred. It's a good thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't know,
guys, let
man.
me know. If I sound like crap, let me know. I'll jump. I'll bounce. I'll let you guys carry the podcast like you always do. But
It's me too.
Uh-oh.
All right.
But we all sound good in our own headsets here.
And we sound good to each other.
I sound perfect.
Sound good
It's you
to each other.
Turn your device into garbage.
Let me start recording here on OBS. Maybe that will capture the sound good, but I'll play around with this. But anyway, episode number 470 is what we're up to. Tonight we'll recap the Derby. We'll also look ahead to Santa Clara and also markets, in and outs.
We're good. We're good.
Now it's good to go? All right.
We're all good.
Everyone good. All right. So it's just
you know. Kick the cobwebs. We needed to kick the cobwebs.
That's right.
That was it.
No, we're good now. That's good. That's awesome. How's everybody doing? Thank you to all the Freddies for joining us. Hope the sound is better now. So here we are. Good to be back. As I was saying, trip to Portugal was good. I was there for a week visiting my parents. Was able to get a game in. Game was excellent. Obviously, new lights at the stadium were awesome. The light show in the beginning was great. It was a good trip. Weather was fine. 50, 60 degrees for you guys that measure temperature in Fahrenheit. So it was good, man. With the exception of the result, everything was good. But let me give you the lineup and we'll get started. We'll talk about the game for a little bit and then we'll talk about other things as always. Vlaco Dimos was in goal. Ba, Silva, Otamendi and Grimaldo, Tino and Enzo, João Mário, Ausnes, Rafa, behind Ramos was who we lined up with. But I don't think there were any surprises here on the lineup, Cristiano. Were you surprised at all when you saw the lineup? My biggest question was, where was Ausnes going to set up? Was he going to set up behind Ramos, like he set up in the game prior, or was he going to set up to the left, which is a position that he isn't always great at? That was my biggest question. But then when the game started,
when considering everyone who started, I'm not surprised he played where he played. I mean, João Mário is going to go back to the left, Rafa back to the free row in the middle, and then Ausnes was in Neres' spot. To me, the one question was, if Neres was 100%, would he have been the better option to go with from the beginning? But at the end of the day, I kind of understand Roger Schmidt's thought process, even if Neres was 100% to go before the game, because in a game that you knew was going to be a tough game, despite the standings, You knew it was going to be a tough game. It's a rivalry game. It's a derby. These games are always tough. And you know, at some point, you're going to have to make a change in order to change the result, in order to change what's going on the field. Maybe pick up the team. Maybe bring in an attacking option to change things up. And I think the option that would have done that, when you compare the Arsenis or Neres, obviously Neres is the guy that's the change-up, the guy that's going to be the change of pace, the guy that can create on his own. So I kind of understand that, because Benfica's bench has been absolutely ass cheeks all year long. So if that was his thought process, I'm going to save this trump, this ace up my sleeve in case I need to use him. But then kind of lost some gas once Neres does come in, and Neres didn't do particularly nothing. He didn't do anything in that game. But I kind of understand his initial thought process. Now, as I mentioned, complicated game. Benfica didn't exactly come out of the gates as we expected. Sporting did. Sporting clearly the better side for the first 15, 20, 25 minutes even so. They dictated the pace, and it took Benfica a little while to get into the game. And when they did, they created some opportunities. But, we'll get into that in a few minutes. But the starting lineup is what it is. We're very thin. Roger Schmidt only made 2 subs in this whole game. Not much to choose from.
He made 1 sub. If you can't, I don't know if you can consider the 93 minute substitute. I mean, that's not really a substitution. That's just burning time.
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to what we harped on here on the podcast since late July, early August, which was this bench is very thin. The options on the bench aren't what everyone seems to think they are. And I know a lot of times I get slack from you guys, from the Freddies and everybody else on Twitter and whatever, because it seems as if I'm always being critical of Benfica players, which is, I'm just speaking on what I've seen. Obviously, I don't want to criticize everybody. I hope there's a day that I can just sit there and be like, everybody's great. Fuck it, let's go. No changes needed. But again, we'll see what happens. I mean, they went out, Alfredo, before the game. Last week was a very big week in terms of transfers. And I know we're here to talk about the game, but they went out into the transfer market. They brought in a striker. They brought in a winger. At least on YouTube videos, them guys look freaking fantastic. Especially who shut up. Shut up, that kid. My man's got Ginga. You know what I'm saying? But again, on YouTube, let's see if that translates to the Portuguese league. Let's see if that translates to a tougher competition than what these guys are accustomed to. We hope so. On video, they look terrific. But it still might not be enough. Again, we've seen this game again in previous games in recent weeks. Thin. And now the kid Araújo is leaving. Not like he was being used anyway, guys. Let's be fair. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, very thin bench in this game, and so we'll talk about different instances, and I'll just pass the mic along to you guys.
Yeah, no, just good atmosphere at the stadium, and the one thing that Roger Schmidt mentioned after the game was that Neres can only play a certain amount of time per game. He hasn't been allowed to play a whole 90 minutes, and perhaps that explains why he's not at the level that we were used to seeing him and why he didn't start. But yeah, without getting too much into the details of the game and kind of speaking a little bit about what you're saying in terms of the depth on the bench, it's like you have a guy on the bench whose name is Draxler, which is a guy, if you can't count on that guy to come in and make a difference, right? Why do we even have him?
100%.
Why do we even have him? Send him back to Paris. Send him back to Paris.
Yep.
Send him back to Paris. But yeah, I mean, really, I thought that Sporting was better to start the game, but I didn't think they were much better than us. I think they were just a little bit more controlling the ball. They had that free kick that Vlachodimos saved, but other than that, they got their own goal that kind of landed on their lap. Then they got the penalty kick in the second half that landed on their lap too. But other than that, I don't think they did much. So Ugarte should have seen about 50 million yellow cards and subsequent red cards. But
I don't think you're being fair. I mean,
I'm not being fair?
You want to tell me the second half they didn't really create much, and then that penalty fell from the sky. That's fine, clumsy challenge on the kid Antonio. But in the first half, again, they were the better side. They possessed the ball. They attacked more. Benfica sat back a lot more. They put more pressure on us. They worked for that goal. Now, was it a beautiful team goal? Was it one of those moments where they were dominating the game? No, not by any stretch of imagination. But I thought that they were clearly the better side early on in the game, and they worked for that goal. You know what I mean? They got Benfica off of their game. Sporting was able to apply whatever their intention was, whatever the tactics were by the manager. They were able to apply their game. And look, Vlaco Dimos had to make that one save. And to me, on that one save, if you guys recall, that ensuing foul, was Otamendi's first foul. And he got a yellow, which to me, it was one of those yellows that I think the referee could have kept the card in his pocket, but he obviously chose not to. But I don't think again, if he would have let it go, I would have been totally okay with it. And it's not because I'm a Benfiquista, it's just the way I read the game. And then he didn't use the same criteria, as you mentioned. Ugarte committed fouls just as egregious as that one, right?
Yeah.
And he kept letting him go. And again, it changed the whole game in terms of the way his aggressiveness, the way he attacked Benfica players, the way he pressed the ball and whatnot. And I just thought things could have been a little bit different. But I think it's unfair to say that first goal fell from the sky for them. I thought the first 25 minutes, to make an argument, even extended another 5 minutes, Sporting were clearly the better side. Then once Benfica kind of got their feet in, and they got the ball on their side, they started to possess, they started to create havoc. João Mario had a really good chance. Rafa had a really good chance. But again, the inability for us to finish wound up hurting us in this game.
Yeah, no.
But just to jump on that, sorry. I think Benfica just gave Sporting way too much respect to start both halves. They kind of let Sporting, like you said, dictate the game, where really they have no class in being even on the same pitch as us this season, at least. And Benfica, I think, gave Sporting way too much respect in the beginning of the first half and even on the second half. And Sporting, the only main difference was efficient with their chances that they created. I'm looking at the stats here: 8 shots that they took, but only 3 on target. And scoring 2 out of 3 on target, that's a huge high.
And one was a penalty kick, and one is a free kick.
Yep. And you look at ours, you got 15 shots for us and 9 on target with only the 2 goals to show for. So touching on Chris's point as well, where we weren't clinical with finishing.
That too.
And that seems to be an issue here as of late. But main point I wanted to just get across is we gave Sporting way too much respect, more respect than they deserve, because really the two teams, how they've been coming into this match, this Sporting team should not be on the same pitch as us, but we gave them enough respect, and they took advantage of those limited opportunities that they had.
Yeah, and look, maybe it goes back to last year, right? Where we're clearly the more dominant team than Sporting, and Sporting comes into Estádio da Luz and really 3-0 into the first half. So I think that perhaps there was the plan for Roger Schmidt that we were going to absorb some pressure and we're going to see what Sporting was going to throw at us in terms of offense. So I don't know if it was part of the plan or not, but yeah, somebody was saying on a chat, actually Noon, saying Benfica grew once Enzo got more involved in the game. And look, I think that those initial minutes, there's a lot of let's see where this is at, what players are showing up in what spots, who's marking who. Is it a zonal? Is there a man? Is there a swarming effect that they have on certain players, not let Benfica play? So there's always that cautious first 15, 20 minutes. But yeah, I think that's a fair point, Chris, that Sporting for the first 20, 25 minutes, they did dominate the game.
You know what I found very interesting, Alfredo? If you listen to Roger Schmidt's pre-game press conference, he said, or in one of the press conferences throughout the week, he said that Benfica doesn't really prepare a game to play against any one opponent, right? based on how the opponent plays. They just prepare their game regardless of what it is, and they go out there and they execute. But once the game started, it seems to me, right? Because if you read both teams prior to kickoff, Sporting is a team that normally invites high press, and they exploit you, right? Teams, get out of position by pressing. They invite that high press. And Benfica is a team that's lived off high press throughout the season, and they fed off of that, right? And so in this game, it kind of felt like Roger Schmidt, who said during the week that he doesn't really look at what the opposition does because they're going to implement their game style. They're going to implement their own game plan as opposed to being dictated by the opposition. And when the game started, Sporting, who we know likes to invite a high press, they're possessing the ball, and Benfica sat back. And it seemed like, wait a minute, Roger, so are you doing what you said you weren't going to do? It seemed a little bit of that because, as Dave said, 100%, Benfica looked like they were paying or they gave too much respect to this Sporting team. And Sporting, clearly, a team that, at the end of the day, let's not forget, they're the ones that needed to come and get the 3 points. And they clearly established their game plan, a lot earlier than Benfica did. But I just wanted to mention that. I found it very interesting that Roger said one thing, and I think he did the total opposite because you didn't see the same Benfica that we've seen all season long applying that pressure, and Sporting invites you into that pressure. So it was kind of like a game of chess. And I think Sporting, I don't know, the chess. I learned how to play for like a day when I used to get in trouble at St. Benedict's, and I never played again. But Sporting won the early part of the chess match. And then once Benfica kind of started moving their pieces around, they kind of evened things out. But yeah, early on, I think Sporting and Amorim won that chess battle.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment. I wouldn't call it a chess, but certainly, yeah, the setup and the initial period, I have to admit that they belong to Sporting, but Benfica was always able to claw one back, even after Sporting scored early in the second half. Benfica was able to claw that back, but the thing is that after those first 25 minutes, I don't think Sporting did much more than that. I thought that the penalty could have gone either way. Suarez Diaz didn't see it in the beginning of the play or live. You have to be called to VAR. At the VAR, it takes way too much time to be able to make the determination that it was a penalty kick, right? Because if the VAR is calling the ref and saying, "Hey, look, you might have missed something. You might have missed something," because he goes back, how much does he have to look at the video to figure out whether he was right or wrong? Right? Because if it was something that was that blatant, it should have been easy to make the call. Now he sat there and viewed image after image when his initial reaction live was to not call the penalty. We've seen the video. We've seen the foot dragging on Paulinho earlier this year or whenever it was. There was the same exact penalty not called for Sporting on Porto, right? Same exact thing, same exact play. So it could have gone either way. The thing is that I was sitting next to Peter, and Peter said, "You went to VAR. He's going to call this because why else would he go to VAR?" And then it's the way it's taken, the amount of time that it was taken. Everybody in the stadium knew that was going to go against Benfica. You could almost feel it. You could almost feel it in the stadium.
That's because we all, I think, Portuguese culture, we all have a negative outlook when it comes. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying we all look at VAR in Portuguese refereeing, kind of like side, skin of the wood. Everybody already expects that. Now, I wanted Dave to talk, but since I started talking, let me just throw this in here. I have zero problem with that penalty, right? Normally,
I don't either.
I look at these penalties and I say, bro, if that was my team, would I want it called for my squad? Absolutely. To me, that's it. End of story. Now, my problem with that penalty is that it's fine and dandy that VAR did their job. And in my view, they were correct calling him over. The referee might have missed it, whether he wanted to miss it or he missed it intentionally, right? He missed it. The VAR corrected, and that's what VAR is there for. Zero problems with it. My biggest problem with it is, where was that VAR? The same VAR officials in the first half when Mateus Reis clearly grabs Rafa by his shoulder.
It's like a horse collar tackle almost.
Exactly, and impedes him from being comfortable on that shot that he ultimately shot straight at Adon.
That's right.
How come VAR didn't intervene there? And to me, my biggest pet peeve about this whole game, my biggest complaint, as I stated on my initial statements here on the podcast, where was the consistency? See, I don't mind when a referee's bad for both teams. I don't mind. Obviously, I don't mind when a referee's good for both teams because that's what we all want. But if you're going to be good for one team and bad for another team, that's asinine. And players don't know how to react. And I think that there was a bunch of different plays that could have been called differently and were called differently for either team. And that absolutely influenced the game. I'm not sitting here and crying and saying that Benfica ultimately drew this game at home 2-2 because of the referee. But at the end of the day, I thought the referee was way inconsistent. And there's different things he could have done. Obviously, we talked about Ugarte. And to me, my biggest thing is, you want to go with that penalty? I'm 100%. To me, it's a penalty. So there's no conversation. But VAR did their job. But how come they didn't do their job early on in the first half? That's my biggest question.
Yeah. Dave, thoughts?
I mean, not just agreeing with you, what you guys said. I think it is a penalty. At first, I think I was looking more at the shove in the back and not necessarily the footwork or the foot challenge there. I think that's what makes it a penalty. Rafa, you guys are talking about the Rafa non-call, but Rafa's also got to put that away. João Mario also, I believe, either before that chance or right after that chance, shot it right at the keeper too. So those right there, and I, if I'm not mistaken, that was right before Sporting went on and scored. It was either right before or right after, but those are two. Those are two chances. Yeah, two chances right there that the lack of finishing really hurt us. And I don't know, Rafa seems not to be clicking. He's not in that form that he was pre-World Cup, and I guess it's to be expected when you have that long of a layover. But I haven't been impressed with Rafa so far since the return from the World Cup break. I hope he finds it soon, but he just hasn't been.
He's also been hurt, Dave.
Has he? Okay, well, yeah, he's.
He left the field hobbling.
Okay.
He left the field hobbling.
In the 93rd minute to bring Chicago into the pitch.
Yeah, but, the other thing that I want to talk about, and we've been talking about this for the past couple podcasts, and Sheik Marcelino makes a great point in terms of Ba. And Ba hasn't been the same since the World Cup. So at what point, and it's not like it's a huge drop between Ba and Gilberto, right? Why isn't Gilberto getting more minutes?
Depends.
Do you think
on
it
what
is a
you're
huge
talking
drop?
About.
Defensively, it's a huge drop. I think there's a closer gap between them.
Who defends better?
How about Gilberto?
Okay.
And the gap is wider
on the offensive side of the ball.
No. Pay attention. The gap is wider in Gilberto's favor in defending than it is in Ba's favor in attacking. Ba's the better attacker, but the gap is wider on the. Gilberto's a better defender than Ba by a wider margin than what Ba is a better attacker than Gilberto. And you know this because I had this conversation with you and Hugo like 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I've not been convinced with Bob. Remember, I asked you guys. You guys are happy with the signing. You guys all said, I said, I don't know, man. There's something about this guy that I'm not feeling. And now you see game after game. And my one concern about this is the guy, as you just stated, our friend, 100% correct. He's not been the same player. So obviously his performances haven't been what we're accustomed to. But the thing to me that's a head scratcher is the guy doesn't get benched. The guy, like Gilberto, is convocado in this game.
He's got to be Schmidt's boy. That's what I've been saying the last couple of weeks where we're talking about squad rotation. But he seems to have Schmidt's blessing of approval. So,
bro, was Gilberto injured this game? How does he not even get called up for a game of this magnitude where you need raza and attitude? How doesn't he even get called up?
Well, he was called up, was he not?
No, he was not.
He wasn't on the bench.
Hey.
He wasn't even on the bench.
But I think at this point, a little bit bench time would do him well.
They don't even have to be bench
but
time.
He's not going to. Like if Gilberto wasn't even on the bench for this match, barring injury, which I didn't see anything, but I I don't know. There's something there that Schmidt clearly values Ba way more than Gilberto, and at least getting some minutes for Gilberto here and switching it up even at the 60-minute mark or whatever. But Ba's clearly.
Here's a scary question. Ba's clear number one, right? Gilberto, unless there's an injury or something personal that we don't know about, right? We're talking, all our points are being made with us assuming that there's nothing wrong with him, right? But the guy's not even being called up. So who's your number two at right back? Don't tell me Andre Almeida.
No, I think that he could go to Auschwitz.
I guess Verissimo.
He could go to Verissimo. I don't remember who exactly was on the bench. But
it was the bench.
I think that he could have
the bench.
He could have gone to one of those guys.
Here's the bench: Verissimo, Morato, Gil Diaz.
Could have gone to Gil Diaz.
You got Chiquinho, João Neves.
Even Chiquinho could have played right back.
Musa Draxler.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, at some point you could have gone with one of the center backs and playing a right back. I don't think it would have been a big deal if he did get hurt. But yeah,
it's not about one game, Alfred. My question wasn't pertaining to this game. It's just I'm just looking at the ladder, right? You got Ba, the guy that we all thought was number two. He's gone. So now, could guys play in that position? Yeah, but in terms of selection, who's your other right back? That's the question. It's not about one game in particular. I just hope that this was maybe something where, obviously I hope everything's all right in his personal life, but I hope it's something that we're unaware of, and Gilberto was unavailable. But you look at the previous 2-3 games, he hasn't played much neither. It's been clearly a decision to go with Ba. And Ba's performances have not indicated to me that he should be getting all this playing time. He is a huge liability defensively. And I think everyone can see. And then on top of it, he's not making the difference. Remember for years I used to criticize Grimaldo on the podcast when I said he's not good defensively and offensively, he's okay. He's obviously stepped up his game this year. He's taking it to a whole nother level. But Ba's not at that stage yet. Ba's not really making a huge difference offensively yet. So why are you suffering through his defensive inabilities to put up with this average attacking? Like, really? I mean, come on. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Oh, Sheikh Muslim sends Gilberto out of cold.
Yeah.
Cold. He's out recording his new mixtape. That's what he's probably out.
No, and I think Diogo Reis also brings up something that I don't think it to be a factor, but yeah, he keeps coming up as being mentioned to a move to Brazil, with the exception that the team in Brazil doesn't want to pay the money that Benfica is asking for.
After $3 million.
So yeah. So look, it is what it is. But I just think at this point, in considering Ba's performances in the past, 3-4 games, I think that Gilberto perhaps warrants a chance to get in there, get some playing time.
Now here's something for you guys to chew on. And yes, Freddie, you're listening to it coming out of my mouth. I thought Florentino was fantastic in the second half.
For this, I almost fell off my chair.
I think Dino was spectacular in that second half. I thought he was our best player. And I tell you, I'm gonna tell you this much, and I know a lot of you guys are gonna get upset with me, but another player who's not been the same since the World Cup, since he's returned from the World Cup, Antonio Silva. He's not been the same player. And I know you can't criticize the kids coming out of St. Charles, but yeah, he's not been the same player.
Yeah, he had a miscue that he was able to recover, and I was actually, I was glad that he was able to recover because that was a pretty bad miscue. But, I think he hasn't been as consistent, Chris, but he hasn't been bad.
He's not been the same player.
Yeah.
That's it. But Tino was fantastic.
Yeah, but, yeah.
And there's depth in that center back position.
There's a lot of depth.
So if he's not clicking, like what's going to take, Schmidt seems to have his favorite guys, and he gives them lots of rope to whether it's good or not. We can decide at a later date. but there's a lot of depth in that position. And I mean, coming up this weekend, Otamendi is suspended. So are we looking at Verissimo to slot in there? Does Moratu slot in there?
I'm gonna go Moratu.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Moratu.
But here's the thing: you guys are accurate in terms of numbers. You guys are absolutely correct that there's options at center back. But the real question is there really? João Vitor has not convinced anyone, right? He's come over from Brazil. We all know that European games another pace. It's a level up. So has he convinced anybody that he deserves to get playing time? Verissimo's coming off an injury. He's not been the same player as well. Morata was phenomenal until he injured his ankle. He's not been the same player since. So, yeah, in terms of numbers, you do have options, but those are the three options on the bench right now. And, I mean, I'm not throwing in Brooks, right? Another guy who has not convinced anybody. And I don't think any of us expected anything brilliant out of this guy. So, I mean, yeah, numbers-wise, there's options, but is there anybody that you can really realistically trust in crunch time? Right now, at least? I mean, you might have to throw them guys in because you have no other time. Like this weekend, Otamendi's suspended. What are you going to do? You got to play one of them, right?
Yeah.
But if Otamendi's healthy, does anybody else say, yeah, let me take this guy out and give any of these guys an opportunity? I think there's plenty of rumors about Verissimo leaving as well. There's plenty of teams in Brazil that are interested in him, and I think Roger Schmidt, it was actually in the Copa last night's Bola, that Roger Schmidt says no, he's going to keep him.
Yeah,
so
he'd rather send João Vitor away.
So.
Yeah, but look, I think in being in the stadium, I left the stadium feeling that I didn't think Benfica played enough to win the game, but I thought Benfica played enough not to lose the game. On the other hand, I don't think that Sporting did enough to win the game. I thought they were fortunate with the goals despite those initial 20 minutes of the first half. Second half, to get the penalty that falls right on their lap in the beginning of the second half that allows them to manage the game a little better or try or attempt to manage the game a little better in the second half. Benfica claws back the second goal. But really, at the end of the day, and I think that a lot of people felt walking out of the stadium, we felt that there was a game that we should have won, but we didn't do enough to win it.
It was a draw that felt like a loss.
Exactly. But I think that people felt that Benfica has a good enough team to be able to beat this Sporting team, but that we just didn't play enough. And despite, and we oftentimes talk about lack of efficiency, I just don't think that Benfica created enough volume of offensive chances to be able to put away goals. I think that Ramos has 2 chances, 3 chances, 4 chances, and he puts 2 of them away. So I don't think you can complain about efficiency. I just don't think that we created enough.
I thought we played well enough in the second half to get the dub, but not convincingly enough, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I thought that the sub bringing Neres in was inconsequential. I don't think that Neres really did anything. He's lacking that explosiveness. He can't get past guys. Every time he attempts it, he keeps turning the ball back because he can't get past guys. But really, just one substitution, really. And perhaps that speaks to how bad our bench is, that there's no one in the bench.
Alfredo, you've mentioned that throughout the year. And Dave as well, right? We mentioned on the podcast in games where Roger took too long to go to the bench or barely went to the bench. And again, is it a tactical decision of his, or is it a lack of trust in his options?
It could be.
It's got to be that second option, especially. I think he was holding out hope that the guys that were on the field are his strongest 11, and they're gonna make something. They're gonna be the best chance to create a scoring chance, and ultimately, it never did materialize there later into the second half, but. I ran through the bench there. There's really no game breakers that he could have brought on and really changed the pace, unless you want to throw up another striker in Musa. But we've seen in the past when you just throw strikers just for the sake of throwing on strikers, that never works out.
Benfica has yet to convince me with 2 forwards up front. I've yet to see a good performance but when Benfica plays with 2 guys up front. I just haven't.
There's been a lot of chatter here, and we need to do a better job of reading these. But this Nunu M. I mean, I really like this guy. I think we should get him on the podcast. This guy's phenomenal. He says we need more Gilberto Terraza type of players, especially off the bench. My opinion, yo, this guy Nunu, he seems to know what he's talking about. We got to get this guy on the podcast.
Put him, Chris.
That's not your burner account?
Chris,
That's not my burner account.
Chris, put him in that drawing you have with those sneaker pimps.
It's too late already, bro.
That's already been awarded or what?
I can't tell it because then people stop following me, so just keep it alive. Yeah, but I think we've actually drawn somebody already. But nonetheless, this Nunu guy, I like him. Bring him back. Hey, next week, send a DM. But listen, yeah, we definitely need to get a little bit. I was gonna say thicker, but that sounds stupid. We need to fortify this bench and get a few more options, guys that we can count on. It's still a very long season. You know, we got very tough games coming up for the Taça Portugal. Obviously, Champions League was just right around the corner. And the good news is that there's still 2 weeks left in the January transfer window. And let's hope that, you know, Schaldrup and Gangster are not the only
Gangster. Thanks, Ted.
Thanks, Ted. Okay. But as excited, trust me, I'm excited to see these two guys play. I'm excited to see these two guys, to see what the future holds for these two guys at Benfica. But I can't tell you right now that I'm convinced that they're going to be instant impact players. I can't tell you that this 18-year-old is going to be able to come in and make a difference in the big game. Not yet. They might need a little time to adjust to things in Portugal, right?
No, I agree.
And they haven't played since November, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
both leagues have been off since the World Cup, and they haven't returned yet either.
No, I agree. I did an interview for a Copenhagen podcast about Diogo Gonçalves, and I was talking to the guy that was interviewing me, and he told me that Sheldrup is the real deal.
Yeah, in that competition. But
so is Jota.
Jota over there in Celtic. My man looks like a magician. Now,
there for next
Sheldrup has the seal of approval from Football Manager too.
There you go. Most sought out. What do they call those guys in FM Manager?
Wonder Kid.
Wonder Kids.
Yeah, I used to have a bunch of those guys. I used to have a list of them, but I haven't played Football Manager in a while. Now, to finish my point, what I was saying is, and I'm not. Look, Freddy's, don't take it the wrong way. I'm not trying to be unfair here, but odds are, the likelihood of things is that they're going to need some time to adjust. Okay? It's totally different. Competition, culture, everything's totally different. So, most likely, look, we hope it's not. We hope they just come in and they're instant impact, right? But odds are that they're going to need a little bit of time, which then we fall right back to where we are right now, which is a bench with no options. We're losing Enrique Araújo. Again, not a player that's played much anyway, so it's not going to be a huge loss in terms of a guy that's actually getting playing time. But it's one less option. One less player that understands already the system in place, the tactical awareness from the manager, what it takes to wear a Benfica shirt, a guy that is acclimated to Portuguese culture, to the club. So it's one less option. Helton's going to leave, right? Again, a player that hasn't made an impact, that hasn't played. But my point is that there's 2 weeks left. There's still some time to go get one or two impactful players, unless these two kids are ready to hit the ground running.
Chris, you can't go get any more guys, dude. That's it. It's done. It's done. And I think those guys will play sooner than what you think.
I'm not.
I'm going to tell you the reason why.
Wait, I'm not doubting that they're going to play. I'm doubting if they're going to hit the ground running. That's my question.
I'm going to tell you that they're going to hit the ground running, and I'll tell you why. Because they're very high-intensity guys in terms of the way they play on the field. They're guys that chase balls. They're guys that give everything on the field. From what I've read. So I think that because they have that level of effort, look, there's still a lot of things that you got to get used to. You got to get used to the team's dynamics. You got to get used to the team's movements. All of that takes time. But in terms of when you're ready and you know those movements and you know those dynamics, the type of player that these guys are will be able to fit in this squad, in my opinion.
Yeah. I thought the same thing about Julian Draxler.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Draxler. You gotta.
Yes, I get it. I understand.
But that's the thing. By now, Draxler should have been playing. He should have been Draxler plus 10 guys by now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, 4 points over Braga, 5 points over Porto, 12 points over Sporting. Is where we're at right now with this tie. One more game to go in the first half. Dave, stats on this game so we can move on.
Yeah. One here off the top. I know this was getting some traction on Twitter, but Vlaco Dimos played his 200th game for Benfica. First and only foreign keeper to reach this milestone.
So he broke Perdome's record, right?
Pardon?
He broke Perdome's record. Perdome had the record of most appearances by a foreign goalie.
Yeah, so he's the only one to reach that milestone. I know there was the PK in this game and Vlaco Dimos' lack of penalty saves in his career, but four PK saves over his 200 games, 80 clean sheets for our boy Vlaco, who's looking to sign a lifelong deal with the club.
Please.
Yeah, that's what he's hoping for. But Ramos with a brace brings his goal tally to 17 this season across all competitions. 11 scored in the league, making him the league's top scorer. And the first time Benfica has dropped points at home this season in league competition. 8 wins, 1 draw. 13 wins, 2 draws across all competition.
Yep.
But we'll see.
I think we missed a good opportunity to be able to put the Lagartos away. Not that they're going to come back with 12 points, but I think it would have been good for us.
Well, this is the highlight of the
3 points.
Playing Benfica and not losing.
It could be. It could be the highlight of this season.
David Pereira, one of the Freddy says, referring to the 2 youngsters that we just acquired, have they played in a league where teams are fine, committing fouls, and playing frustrating football? Obviously, it's going to take some time to adjust. I mean, look, these Freddies, they're doing a tremendous job with all the questions. Nelson Torvenfa, should Veríssimo go out on loan? He's still looking timid on his left knee. Diogo Reis mentioned Diogo Moreira. Diogo Moreira's out the door at the end of the year. Tiago Gouveia, he'll most likely be back from Estoril next year. I'm not worried about those guys, Diogo. I'm worried about the guys now that are on a team.
I like Gouveia, but if you bring Gouveia to not give him playing time, you might as well leave him at Estoril, let him progress.
Here's a question I got regarding Gouveia. I don't know if you watched him much. I've watched him.
So the goalie scored this weekend?
So I don't think at Benfica. I don't think he's a winger at Benfica.
He's an interior guy.
Okay, but over there he's playing on the wing. That's why I'm asking. Estoril's playing on the right.
Yeah, he's an interior guy.
I don't see him. I don't see him playing on the wing of Benfica.
Chris, you know who Estoril is interested in?
Yeah.
I was just about to say the Manco Master.
That's right. I don't know if they're going to be able to support his salary, though.
I don't think he comes back. Exactly. The guy's going to come back.
Braga is also interested, too, I'm reading.
Yeah, Braga makes more sense.
Yeah, he would go to Braga before he went to Estoril.
Yeah, he's been at
unless Nelson Veríssimo says you're going to start every game regardless whether you run or not.
Dude, the
guy is what it is.
Alfredo, he's going to make Estoril in the year what he makes a week over here in Bashaki, bro. It just makes no, he's in Arabia's now. Never mind, he left Bashaki.
Yeah. Up next for Benfica, Santa Clara. We're going to travel to the Azores, your favorite island in the whole world, Chris. Saturday, 6 p.m.
Check the weather forecast.
Definitely on a bucket list. I don't know about my favorite, but it's definitely right there, Alfredo. It's, amongst my favorites.
Saturday, 6 p.m.
Otamendi's
out for this game, as Dave mentioned earlier. And this is the last game of
MR time.
No, it's Lisbon time.
Yeah, local time.
No, local. They're playing in Santa Clara. Santa Clara is in a different time zone, if I'm not mistaken. Azores is in a different time zone, right, Dave?
Yeah. But they're 4-hour difference to us.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, they're one. Yeah. Dave, what's Santa Clara been up to this year?
Not too positive this season. It's currently in 16th with 14 points from 3 wins, 5 draws, 8 losses. Their last win came against Estoril on November 14th, going 2 draws, 5 defeats since then. Historically, 12 wins, 2 draws, 1 defeat, and Benfica historically in San Miguel, 5 wins and 2 draws.
Yeah.
And it's Mr. San Miguel's birthday himself, Timo, the man, the legend, if I'm not mistaken.
It's
It
today.
was
Happy
his
birthday, Timo.
So shout out to Timo.
Why are you doing that? Right?
Why
you're
not?
Gonna get,
Timo's special.
you're gonna get us unfollowed because
You
we
did-
say happy birthday to Timo. We don't say happy birthday to. Remember the guy that got pissed off? 'cause
Manolo,
What's his name? I don't even know. his
Manolo,
name.
the Greek guy. They got pissed off because the club didn't wish him a happy birthday. Is that the guy?
I ain't say no names, bro. I just said people. All right, you always putting names in my mouth.
I could say it because he doesn't listen to our podcast, so I could say it was him. It was Manolo Giacomampakis.
Chris,
No,
90% chance of rain for the
Oi,
game
tá
this
fudeu.
weekend. Here we go.
It's gonna be rough. Bring out the tratores.
You better take those, them boots that the guys vão bacalhau. They go up to your titties, all the way up to
The
your
bacalhau.
boots. You know what I'm talking about?
The guys
All
that
the
go
way up.
fly fishing, right?
Something like that, yeah. Bring those ices.
Yeah, another tricky game for Benfica. Santa Clara is always away. Like as Dave mentioned, they're struggling and they're looking to grab as many points as possible. And teams always get motivated to play Benfica, as you guys know. So we'll see. Lastly,
I was wanted to say there's gonna be a lot of Benfica that we know afraid of making the trip over there. So wish you guys safe travel.
Yeah.
Have some fun.
of course.
Please.
Lastly, you guys have already heard this. Andreas Sheldrup and Casper Thankstead were officially introduced last week by Benfica. Roger Schmidt, as you heard us say here, those guys are still going through the preseason. They haven't played a competitive game since November, so they're doing that now. And Henrique Araújo looks like he's going to Watford on loan, and Helton Milk. There's a lot of traction getting him going to Brazil, correct? Helton Milk.
Turkey.
Turkey? Okay. Turkey, Brazil.
It's close. Same
Yeah.
continent.
The Brazil connection was Benfica was interested in the Flamengo keeper, if I'm not mistaken, but
No,
that's
it wasn't.
broken down.
No, it wasn't. Benfica was never interested. They already put out
Never?
They already put out a statement they weren't interested. I think it's just agent talk, trying to. That guy is apparently, from what I heard, that guy is awful. That guy's really, really bad. So we'll see. What else do you guys have to say for yourselves before we get the heck out of here?
Just touching upon that Arushu transfer, I mean, Watford has a good track record of producing and developing talent. So, as long as this is a temporary move with the idea and hope that he's back in the mix and not another Jota situation, I would be okay with it. But It's always tricky when you loan out these young talents. Once they get I don't know if it's once they get a taste of life outside of Portugal, or they might get burned or have a negative taste in their mouth about not getting the club's confidence. But I would just have to hope that Araujo's taking this all in stride and that there's still hopes for him in the team's future here.
Yeah, I think Araujo, in the times that I've heard him speak, he seems that he's a very intelligent guy. I think that he sees this as a necessary step for his career to keep progressing. Certainly, I wouldn't be happy if I was behind Musa in the pecking order. So certainly, if he goes there and he strikes me as a guy that works hard, and he's gonna work for his opportunities in England. So hopefully he'll get some shots there. Diogo Reis is asking if both Neto and Moreira for sure are gone. I don't know, man. There seems to be issues with the contracts. Those guys are not getting playing time. Obviously, the club's policy is that if you don't want to renew your contract, why should we invest in you by giving you playing time? So I think that's where it is right now. I think that Moreira does have talent. I just don't think. I think that these days kids just want to move up too quick. Excuse me. And you also got agents pushing players because they want to make that buck. So I think that both Moreira and Neto are in that same situation. So I don't know. Cristiano, diz goodbye pra gente ir embora.
Até logo, minha malta linda. Thank all the Freddies for tuning in, and we apologize, or I should apologize for not doing a better job of reading a lot more of your comments. I promise I will work on it. I promise in the future I'll be reading a lot more of your comments. But in the meantime, you guys can send us questions on Twitter, hashtag Benfica Podcast, and we'll check them out on, throughout the week. And we're going to start that segment again. We need to, because you guys are a huge part of our podcast, and we need to get you guys a lot more involved. So appreciate it. Alfredo, glad you're back.
Yes,
Can't
sir.
wait to... Dave, whenever you want to come out here, you're welcome. And Benfiquistas around the world, carrega. Força, isto não está nada ganho, mas...
Yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday. Benfica will play Santa Clara over the weekend, but then they will play Aroca on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And that will be the first game of the second round. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being part of this, and happy birthday to Timo. Take care. Later. Bye.